Thank you for joining us this evening as we highlighted 4 notable figures from the Glendale Heights community. Today, we recognize our very own Harold Reskin, Bobby Hitz, Cristobal Cavazos, Billy Corgan, and part of the Andy Warhol Pop Art Museum. Earlier this month, the Cleveland County Museum of Art at the McAninch Arts Center held the grand opening of the Andy Warhol portfolio. A Life in Pop, which includes 94 different works of the famous artist Andy Warhol. Several months ago, Dawn Smith from the MAC reached out to our village about joining many other communities in this important art. Each organization was to select 4 notable figures who held a lasting impression on our community and drive the village of Glendale Heights in a positive direction. There was no question that the 4 individuals chosen were the perfect choice to be featured on these prints. Glendale Heights is a community that is full of community, families, friendship, and history. So tonight, we have our very own Bobby Hitz, Cristobal Cavazos with us this evening. Can you stand so we recognize? But before they come up to the microphone, I'd like to introduce the village public affairs coordinator, David Gentry, who has a special message for everyone. Okay, thank you very much.
So obviously Harold Reskin could not be with us tonight because he passed away in 1996. I've been in contact with his daughter, Leslie Neilan, who lives up in Highland Park. She couldn't be here tonight, but she sent her well wishes. And she actually wrote a letter to all of you and to the Glendale Heights community that I will read right now. To the Glendale Heights community, David reached out to me to share some stories of my dad, Harold Reskin, and what it was like spending time in Glendale Heights. I spent most of my early childhood summers there on my dad's farm. By the time I was in high school, my family no longer spent the summers at the farm, but I have many wonderful memories from my time there. The farm was called Windy Point Farm. I remember that my younger brother Jim and I played nearly every day, all summer long, with the Johnson children, whose family owned the farm next door. Their dad, Roger Johnson, was an airplane pilot, and he and his wife Sheila, I think that was her name, raised their children there. Sheila was an incredible cook, and I spent many hours learning how to bake apple pies from her. We had fun peeling the apples and then creating mustaches with the long peels. On the farm, we had a few cows, many chickens, and a miniature donkey named Louie. Louie was more like a family pet. In fact, my parents often brought him to charitable events. I remember one time my mom and dad dressed Louie to look like a cow and brought him with them to the Drake Hotel for a History of Chicago costume party. My parents were dressed up like Mr. and Mrs. O'Leary, the folks who were supposedly responsible for causing the Great Chicago Fire. All went well at the fun dress-up party, that is, until Louie decided to relieve himself right in the Drake Hotel's party room. Oops. When I was away at school, I received the horrible news that Louie had slipped on the ice and broke his leg. That sweet donkey was in terrible pain. My dad was beside himself as he loved Louie like a family pet. Sadly, my dad was the one who had to put Louie down. During the same winter, my horse Bumpy also died. Bumpy was extremely old, but losing a loving animal is never easy. Bumpy was an old retired polo pony who earned his name because he used to bump other horses out of the way on the polo field. Let me add a fun story about Louie, though. That miniature donkey was extremely intelligent and knew how to open the horse paddock where all the horses were grazing. One day, Louie used his mouth to open the paddock and let all the horses out. I think he let about 30 horses out. As you know, Windy Point Farm eventually became my dad's polo club. I have fond memories of my dad trying to teach me and my brother Jim to play polo. Polo never did become my sport, but my dad tried. Shotokan karate became my sport, and sadly, my dad never got to see me make second-degree Neilan black belt. I guess you can tell that I miss my dad every day of my life. I mentioned that we had chickens on the farm too. I never forgot when I asked my dad what their names were, and he told me, Elizabeth. I asked him what the other chickens' names were, and he told me, Elizabeth. Do you mean all the chickens are named Elizabeth, Dad? Yes, he told me, all of them. My dad had a great sense of humor. My farm had an incredible vegetable and fruit garden. We grew lettuce, tomatoes, rhubarb, peppers, corns, cucumbers, and even had a strawberry barrel. I remember collecting freshly laid eggs from one of the chickens, named Elizabeth. There was nothing like the fresh eggs from a farm. I hope these stories help give you an idea of what it was like to spend my summers here in Glendale Heights. All the best to all of you in Glendale Heights, and I hope to visit Glendale Heights again someday. I would love to connect with folks who knew my dad. He died so young, and only my oldest son, Sean, remembers his grandpa. Sean's 34 now, and Dad died in 1996. Thank you all for remembering Dad and everything he did for this great community. I love hearing the stories about Glendale Heights and how far it has come since the early days, and I know Dad would have been honored to be featured along with the other 3 notable figures on display. Thank you all again for everything you've done to keep my dad's legacy alive and for moving Glendale Heights in a positive direction. Sincerely, Leslie Neilan. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Diana Martinez and Geoff Bevington from COD, and Geoff is the artist of all of these prints throughout all of our communities. So I'd like them to come up and just maybe say a few words about these prints and the exhibit of Andy Warhol and just everything that this entails.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Glendale Heights, for being a partner in this project. I will tell you, we have a huge Andy Warhol show at the College of DuPage, and Bank of America approached us with 100 gorgeous original Andy Warhols that they have in their collection after we did this Frida Kahlo exhibition. And ironically enough, I got to know Cristobal through the Frida Kahlo exhibition, and he was a great partner in helping us get the word out. So I'm so happy that you're honored. And I've gotten to see what he does for the community, and he truly puts the people first. So what a great pick. And what's ironic is Glenellen said, no, Billy is ours. And then Glendale Heights said, no, Billy's ours. And how this all started was this guy, when I announced we're doing an Andy Warhol show, he painted a picture of the 4 most famous people in Glenellen in a Warhol style print. And he said, I just thought this would be kind of cool for your Warhol show. Maybe you could put him up somewhere. And we did a mural in downtown Glenellen. And it was such a great way to celebrate the community and people of the town and Andy Warhol. And Andy Warhol said, everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. And so we said, what if we do this where we make icons out of people like Andy Warhol did, right? Once he made that Marilyn Monroe print, it became an iconic image of her for the rest of her life. And hopefully these will become iconic images of these people for the rest of their lives. So Geoff did this in Glendale, and they said, what if we do it for every town in DuPage County? And we asked each town to pick their 4 most famous people, 4 hometown heroes. Who are their 4 notables that we can immortalize in this artistic way and bring the community together in a way to celebrate our Warhol show? And I was hoping 10 towns would do it, and 26 did it. So there's been a wonderful celebration all throughout DuPage County. But Glendale Heights, I live right at 5 corners, so I feel like this is part of my home. And I'm so proud of who you picked and how you did it, and that you're a part of it, and I can't thank you enough. And this is Geoff Bevington, the artist, who has done over 86 portraits of amazing people in DuPage County who've contributed in so many ways to make their towns better and the people proud of them. So thank you, Glendale Heights, for being a part of it. I hope you make it to the exhibition. It's absolutely gorgeous. We even have a Studio 54 recreation. We have an area for children. We have a Central Park recreation. We have 150 original Warhol photos and 100 original Warhol prints that he did in paintings. So it's right here at COD. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays after 2, there's $10 tickets, so that's a really good deal. And we hope you can join us, but thank you for celebrating with us, and thank you, Glendale Heights. And now here's Geoff Bevington, who is the artist of these beautiful events.
So usually I'm sitting alone in my studio drawing and don't often have an opportunity to talk in front of a group of people, but thank you. I just wanted to say, and repeat what Diana said, that I've created more than 86 or 90 or something like that portraits of people across DuPage County, and each and every portrait that I've created, I spent time looking at the people, in some cases choosing which picture I wanted to use if I got more than one, and reading about them, and then on average it took about 2.5 hours per portrait, so that's a long time staring at your face, Cristobal and body, but that's okay. You know, I had a wonderful time doing it, and I think the best part of all of this isn't just creating this artwork, which, by the way, having done so many, I could say I like one versus the other, but this town in and of itself, all 4 combined, really represent my favorite. You know, there's some, I might like 1 out of 1 town, or 2 out of 1 town, or something, and artists are always like that. We just usually don't like anything that we do. I got that from my grandfather. You know, I was like, whatever. But you guys, all of your artwork, all of your pictures, everything came together. It was magnificent. But what I really want to say is that having an opportunity to not just meet you by seeing your picture and reading your bio, but by hearing you hopefully next speak about who you are and what you've done and how everybody is proud of the fact that you represent their village or city is just tremendous, because this has taken on a life of its own, and I'm glad to be part of it. Thanks.
So at this time, you know, because of the history that Glendale Heights has, and the reason we chose these 4 individuals is because of the memories, right? And a lot of us are here because we have ties to Glendale Heights. We grew up here. We have those memories. So I was hoping Bobby Hitz and Cristobal Cavazos could speak a little bit on their time in Glendale Heights. We'll start with Bobby and just share some of those stories.
Is this thing out? I'll just take it off. How's everybody doing? Thanks for coming out. To the artists, what a tremendous job. The 3 guys that were featured in this, excluding myself, Billy Corgan lived next door to my dear friend Julie Rich. We used to babysit his little brother. We used to watch him walking down the street carrying his guitar. We'd go, where's this kid going with the guitar? Well, we all know where he went. Stardom, right? It's great. Rocco's gonna be the next guy. Cristobal, his family, I grew up with his sister and his brother Dave, and grade school together, so there's history there. Harold Reskin, I played football at Reskin School. I rode my dirt bike at the polo fields. We weren't supposed to. So there's some history for me with these folks up here. But this town, I gotta tell you, means a lot to me. They always say, never forget where you come from. And no matter where my life took me, I never forgot my roots here in Glendale Heights, because without them, I would never be what I am. Because of Mayor Jerry Sullivan, who actually put the boxing program here in town, right in the sports hub, not in the police building there. And Mrs. Sabatino, who was there as like kind of our dead mother, making sure we had water, we were behaving ourselves. Without these 2 ladies, I don't know where my life would have went. I truly mean that. Mayor Sullivan, without you putting this boxing program in, I don't know what would have happened to me. So I owe a debt of gratitude to you for taking a chance on us kids in this town. And I've always said that if boxing can save 1 kid, we did our job. And it's become my life's mission to do that. To Trustee Light, I mean, we were kids together. I always protected him. And so the neighborhood we grew up in, pardon me?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I babysat him too, that's just so you know. Anyways, but it just goes back to how this town had neighborhoods and the neighbors all cared about each other. I was talking to Mike Sabatino just yesterday, and he said his father and Mr. Caputo were like fixing the washing machine. And it brought me back to like when we were kids, if we're working on our car, all the neighbors would come out and would help. And it's just like the camaraderie that this town created when I moved here in 1967 was remarkable. And I don't think that exists in this day and age. So those memories will forever be etched in my mind. Running these streets, doing my road work, preparing for competition. Yesterday was actually 38 years that I had turned professional. So it's over 40 years before I embarked on boxing that started right here in the police station, the basement, which they strategically placed right behind my childhood home, which is right on the other side. They happened to build a police station right behind my house for some reason. I don't know why. I have a good idea though. Keep a good eye on me. But you know, from riding our bikes to Circle Pool to then building the great community we have in here, this whole complex was great. And I got to tell you, Mayor Sullivan did a great job with this town, from the parades to the festivals to everything. And that's what I remember as a kid growing up here. And it's just remarkable to be part of this great exhibit. And I'm just so appreciative. I just want to thank everyone for coming out, and I'm glad to be part of this. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. I mean, I grew up in this town. I was born and raised, and coming up after Bobby Hitz, you know, I was just telling my daughter, you know, imagine Bobby Hitz going, it's all these big folks, you know, that courage, you know, that valiancy, you know, that as we say in Spanish, valentía, you know, I really respect that, and it's an honor to be up here with everybody. I grew up listening to Billy Corgan, yeah? Where's the Smashing Pumpkins fans? Yeah? You know, I was hoping that your brother would come, but you know, I still have those songs in my head. You know, the world is a vampire. But anyway, it's an honor to be here. I think of my father, Ramiro Cavazos, who came up here from Texas in the, what year, Julie? They came up here in the 50s and the 60s. They were picking cucumbers in Joliet. They were working in, you know, my father was working in the warehouses in the 60s. The economy, the 50s, the economy of Chicago was growing, a lot of industrial jobs. So they settled out in Franklin Park, and then found their way to Glendale Heights. Yeah, my father was a Teamster brother. Who remembers Dominic's Finer Foods? Yeah. Dominic's Finer Foods, he worked there. Teamsters, local 705, you know, was able to purchase a house with his salary, working in a warehouse. My mother stayed at home, Anita Cavazos, watching from Texas, from McAninch, Texas. A big un abrazo a mi mamá. But anyway, I remember, you know, growing up in this town, you know, I didn't really have an idea. I was from Glendale Heights. I went to Queen Bee School, you know, I went to Glenside Middle School, I went to Glenbard West. It wasn't until I went to Glenbard West that I knew that I was from Glendale Heights. And why? Because Glenbard West, we went there. I was so happy at Glenside, you know. I don't know where my Glenside friends are, but in the 90s, I was so happy there, you know, just some wonderful times there. My Anglo brothers and sisters, my Filipino friends, you know, my black brothers and sisters, my Latino brothers and sisters. I just felt like we just had such a beautiful time in middle school. Then, you know, we had to go to different ways. You know, I lost half of my friends to Glenbard North, and, you know, we went to Glenbard West. And so it wasn't until Glenbard West I realized I was from Glendale Heights, because, you know, our first day of school, hey, look at the guys from Glendale Heights, you know. We were almost like, you know, kind of like, just, you know, I don't know what they say, but kind of excluded, you know, they were kind of discriminated against us from Glendale Heights. But I think that made me more resilient, you know. Glendale Heights is a working class town, you know. My father would come home with dirt under his nails, like the other, you know, the plumbers and the carpenters on Maryland Avenue, just down the block, you know. I had that love of working hard, you know, that love of working class folks, you know, that love of people, honest people, you know, honest folks here. I work hard, you know, I get my pay, I get my family, you know, the family comes first. My neighbors, by the way, the Dillers, the Maholics, you know, the Francos, all the people on our block, the Abernathy's, that we grew up here, you know, I had that inside of me. But you know, when we went to Glenbard West, the Glendale Heights folks, oh look at the Glendale Heights folks, we had to stick together, you know. And I love that. I think that was my start in activism, because we had the Glendale Heights table, you know. I don't know, we used to Glenbard West High School, you know, there was all the table. We had the the Glenside, Glendale Heights table where we stood together, we looked out for each other, and it was the African American brothers and sisters, Latino brothers and sisters, Anglo brothers and sisters, and the Asian brothers and sisters, and we all stuck together. I just really love that, because that shows, you know, that love comes first, you know, that sticking together, that community love, our first identities. I think that towns today really need to reflect on that, you know. What does it take for a town, for people to identify with the town, you know? I know in Chicago, people, they have that pride, the South Side Irish, you know, the West Side, you know, the North Side, but I like to think what that looks like today, breeding people with the qualities of people up here, you know, breeding people with the courage of Bobby Hitz, you know, bringing people up with the honesty of Billy Corgan. He navigated the emotional realm, you know. Things aren't always peachy and rosy, you know. You're a teenager, you get lonely, you struggle, you know, heartbreak and life, you know. I think Billy Corgan navigated that better than anyone did, you know, in my time. And, you know, I really respect that dear brother, Harold Reskin, you know, I remember the Polo Club, you know, the Polo Club inspired me, you know. I used to ride by that old fence with the horses there, my bike there. Hey, you know, the King of England plays there. You know, this is very glowing for, you know, a Glendale Heights kid. But anyway, all these people had these qualities here that I really believe that we're trying an Immigrant Society page. I formed Immigrant Society page with Rafael Gueda, our dear brother, in 2007 here in Glendale Heights, representing the Latino brothers. Where's the Latino brothers and sisters here in this room? ¿Dónde estamos? ¿Dónde estamos? Yeah, all right. So yeah, you know, my family came up here. We were one of the first Latino families that came up here. They're coming up from Texas. As I mentioned, my father was born in northern Mexico. My mother's a native Texan from McAninch. They came up here and they settled in Glendale Heights in the 70s. We would see some more Latino brothers coming up in the 80s. The peso collapsed in Mexico in the 2000s. I still remember when I was in, you know, getting ready to leave high school. We've seen a lot of people coming up here. And we wanted to be an Immigrant Society page, the voice of this segment, you know, that creativity, that love, you know, that Latinos have, that passion, that energy, you know. And I think, like in other towns, you know, I think the Latino community has really energized Glendale Heights, you know, has really brought a lot to the table in Glendale Heights. You know, I was talking to the art, and by the way, a big applause to the artist. I didn't even know he painted this, but a big applause to the artist here. But if anything, in the picture, you know, he was saying that the Wild and the Glendale Heights, the pictures were some of the best. I think because these people have character, you know. These aren't people born with you know, these were people like Bobby Hitz who came up from the working class, Billy Corgan, the working class. My parents were farm workers, you know. We didn't grow up, you know, what do they say? I'm not no fortunate son, in the words of Credence, you know. We had to fight, you know, we had to fight for things. And I think that spirit is, I feel that spirit in Glendale Heights today. I feel that love. And I think it's stuff like moments like this when we come together and reflect, you know, people from different backgrounds here, what it takes to come in to build this village here and having this blessing to Glendale Heights, you know. What does it take today in our schools and our institutions to create another Bobby Hitz, you know? What does it take in our schools and institutions to create another Billy Corgan, who wasn't satisfied with mediocrity, you know? He wasn't satisfied with just, you know, sitting home and watching TV. He wanted to express that, as the Greeks say, that pathos, you know, that passion we feel inside, that ethos that we feel inside. And he did it so well, you know. And in my humble career as an activist, you know, when I look at the kids, we're in Wheaton at our Pacific Page Center. When I look at the young kids coming up there that want to come up and talk to me, you know, I think, hey, we got to build up a new people with the moral courage, you know, with the convictions here, with that honesty, with that love, with that energy here that we see in these four men that are up here, you know, and the dear precious women that are out there as well. I think Glendale Heights has given me a beautiful platform in life to do, you know, the little that I've done. I really feel, you know, I say they picked me. I feel sometimes I was saying I'm the least in my family, but you know, it's an honor for me to be up here and feel that love and just kind of imagine, you know, there's kind of like 4 different generations up here, you know, what the next generation is going to look like. And I hope we take the qualities from every one of these men and put them all together, you know, that courage, that honesty, that love, that energy, that community spirit, because if anything I want to add to here is the spirit of community. When we started Immigrant Society Page, you know, it was kind of this time in 2007. There was a lot of people being deported. You know, there was a lot of strife. You know, we have a new Latino neighbors coming into this town, this majority Anglo town. You know, there was a little bit of you know, friction sometimes. We wanted to start a group to celebrate our community and show, you know, we are the same, we're all the same, we have the same dreams, the same hopes. The picture here was taken at our festival, the Monarch Butterfly Festival, which is the first Latino festival in DuPage County. Last year, I think we had out about 2,000 or so folks here, 3,000 of our folks here. These are people, mariachi bands from Bloomingdale, you know, these are charros from Glendale Heights, you know, these are taco cooks from Glen Ellen. And these are a lot of our Anglo brothers and sisters that come there and enjoy that and feel it, you know, and kind of feel that humanity by enriching us culture in this town. So that's what we brought to this town. That's what I hope to bring to this town. I have a big, you know, as they say in the Jewish community, a big shalom to the people coming up in this town, all the people in this town, and I look forward to continue to collaborate with this town, you know, investing in the future, investing in the people today, making sure we have the cultural outlets, yeah, for a Billy Corgan, making sure we have the sports outlets for a Bobby Hitz, you know, making sure we have that civic engagement of Cristobal, you know, which I admired people who were engaged in the community. I think there was a deficit of that in the 80s and the 90s, and I think we're trying to rectify that by re-energizing community life. And of course, you know, the humor of Harold Reskin. You know, he was a funny guy. You know, he was a humor. I remember they would let us go into the polo club. Maybe I'm wrong, but once or twice a year, and I remember going in there and just seeing how the other side lived of things. You know, I appreciate that because seeing that polo club, it was almost like a magic kingdom for me. You know, growing up in Glendale Heights, it inspired me to think of the impossible. You know, what other town has a polo club in the middle of a working class hood? So with that, it's an honor. Thank you, Glendale Heights, for bringing me to this platform. I thank everybody here. And again, I really want to thank again our dear brother Bobby Hitz, who's here today. Give a big applause for our brother. Going up against George Foreman, going up against so many, you know, the lions in this world, you know. I think they say when God created the world, you know, courage was not given out equally, you know, but he got a fair share there, and I'd like to take that fair share and keep on spreading it to the rest of the community. Que viva Glendale Heights, que viva la familia Cavazos, y que viva toda la gente aquí. Buenas tardes, hasta luego. Thank you.
Well, thank you again all for coming today. I think maybe we can do some pictures if you guys want to come up, and we can do some individual photos with your prints here. Thank you again all for coming.
Thank you.